Do you feel a knot in your stomach every time you try to say no? What if I told you that guilt is a choice and setting boundaries is the ultimate act of self-love? This video will guide you through a strategic framework for setting clear, firm boundaries without succumbing to guilt, transforming your relationships, and reclaiming your personal power. You are about to learn how to strategically set unbreakable boundaries and say no without the crushing guilt, reclaiming your personal power. This is not about being selfish. It is about self-preservation and cultivating healthier, more authentic connections. The guilt trap is a powerful, invisible cage. It is that familiar tightening sensation in your chest, the racing thoughts, the immediate regret that floods you when you even consider declining a request. This paralyzing feeling often stems from a deeply ingrained mainstream belief, the idea that setting firm boundaries, especially saying no to others, is inherently selfish, that it will hurt feelings, or worse, damage your most important relationships. This belief is not only incomplete, but it is also profoundly harmful. It prioritizes external harmony over your internal well-being, leading to a silent epidemic of resentment, burnout, and ultimately inauthentic connections. You find yourself constantly giving, constantly accommodating, constantly sacrificing your own needs and energy, all to avoid that dreaded feeling of guilt. Psychological studies on the impact of people-pleasing tendencies consistently show a direct correlation with increased stress, anxiety, and a significant decline in mental health. When you consistently override your own needs for the sake of others, you are not fostering genuine connection. You are building a facade, a relationship built on obligation and unspoken resentment. This mainstream view fails to equip individuals with the essential tools to manage the emotional fallout of asserting themselves. It leaves you vulnerable and disempowered. It is time to dismantle this myth and understand the true nature of boundaries and guilt. The truth is, guilt is a learned response, not an inherent consequence of asserting your needs. It is a conditioned reaction, often instilled from childhood, that tells you your needs are secondary to others' comfort. But what if you could strategically reframe this entire dynamic? What if saying no was not an act of rejection, but an act of profound self-affirmation? This brings us to the contrarian truth. Strategically implementing clear boundaries is a vital act of self-respect and self-preservation. This paradoxically cultivates healthier, more authentic relationships by eliminating people-pleasing and energy drains. Guilt, as we have established, is a learned response, not an inherent consequence of asserting your needs. It is a psychological construct that can be unlearned and reframed. Think of it this way. Every time you say no to something that drains you, you are actually saying a powerful yes to your own well-being, your purpose, your energy, and your authentic self. This is the strategic reframing. It is not about denying others, it is about affirming yourself. When you say no to an extra task at work that pushes you past your limits, you are saying yes to your mental health and your ability to perform your existing duties effectively. When you decline a social invitation that you know will deplete your energy, you are saying yes to your need for rest and rejuvenation. This shift in perspective is transformative. It moves you from a place of perceived selfishness to one of strategic self-care. Research indicates that individuals who consistently set healthy boundaries report higher levels of self-esteem, greater life satisfaction, and more fulfilling relationships. These are relationships built on mutual respect, not obligation. This is the foundation for reclaiming your personal power. Now, you might be thinking, but if I say no, people will think I am selfish and stop liking me. This is a common and understandable fear, rooted in the mainstream belief we just debunked. However, psychological studies on relationship dynamics show that while some individuals, particularly those who benefited from your lack of boundaries, might react negatively, genuinely supportive people will respect your limits. Assertive communication, backed by research, teaches us that clear boundaries actually foster deeper respect. When you consistently prioritize your well-being, you teach others how to treat you. Those who truly value you will adapt. Those who do not, well, their departure creates space for more authentic connections. Consider this. Is a relationship built on your constant self-sacrifice truly a relationship you want to maintain? Strategic boundary setting acts as a filter, revealing who genuinely respects you. For example, instead of a harsh no, you can use phrases like, "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I am unable to commit to that right now." Or, "My plate is full this week, but I would be happy to help with something smaller next month." This is assertive, not aggressive. It communicates your boundary clearly without apology, while still showing respect for the other person. Another common concern is, "I have tried setting boundaries before, but I always feel terrible afterwards and give in."
Feeling is precisely the learned guilt we are addressing. It is a deeply ingrained emotional response, not a sign that you are doing something wrong. Therapeutic principles for managing guilt emphasize that this discomfort is a normal part of unlearning old patterns. It is your brain's way of resisting change, even positive change. The key is to distinguish between this temporary discomfort, which is a sign of growth, and unhealthy, debilitating guilt, which is a learned response you can dismantle. When you feel that familiar pang of guilt after setting a boundary, practice self-compassion. Acknowledge the feeling without judgment. Remind yourself, this discomfort is a sign I am honoring my needs, not that I am a bad person. Use mental reframing techniques. Instead of focusing on what you are denying someone else, focus on what you are affirming for yourself. For instance, if you decline a request to work late, tell yourself, "I am choosing to protect my energy so I can be more effective tomorrow," rather than "I am letting my team down." This internal dialogue is crucial. It is a muscle you build over time. Do not expect perfection immediately. Consistent practice, even with small boundaries, will strengthen your resolve and diminish the power of learned guilt. Finally, you might worry, "My relationships are too important to risk by being assertive." This concern highlights the high stakes involved, and it is valid to want to protect your connections. However, the paradox is that strategically implemented boundaries do not destroy healthy relationships. They strengthen them. Relationships built on people-pleasing are inherently unstable and unauthentic. They breed resentment in the giver and can lead to a lack of respect from the receiver. Research on assertive communication techniques consistently shows that clear, respectful boundary setting actually improves relationship quality. When you communicate your needs clearly, you invite others to meet you in a space of mutual respect. You are teaching them how to engage with the real you, not the version of you that constantly sacrifices. This leads to more honest, deeper connections. Imagine relationships where you feel truly seen, valued, and respected, not just for what you can do for others, but for who you are. That is the payoff of unbreakable boundaries. You will experience increased self-respect, a surge in personal energy, and a network of genuinely supportive connections. You will no longer feel drained, but empowered. Your relationships will transform from obligations into sources of authentic joy and mutual growth. This is not just about saying no, it is about saying yes to a life of integrity, power, and genuine connection. Your journey to unbreakable boundaries starts now. Implement one strategic no this week. Observe the profound shift in your relationships and self-respect. Subscribe for more strategic relationship insights.